Yo, what's up, guys? I know it's been a while since I made a video, but kind of got bored this weekend, and so I thought that I just had this random idea that I would just start making like a weekly video before market on Sundays. Just talking about plays I think that look good, the state of the penny market and everything that goes with it, and any like macro stuff that maybe pops into my head from time to time. Um, For those that don't know me, uh, my name's Gage. I'm one of the co-founders of Stockonomics with Whoopty Who and Trippy. If you'd like to join our Discord, you can just follow me on Twitter at BallsRS, and you can join the Discord from there. Um, just so that you can see that you know I'm a decent trader, I guess you could say. Uh, this is my current account profit and loss for this year. I'd say it's a pretty good year. It's definitely not anything crazy, and there are a ton of people that are way better at trading than I am. But it's a decent return, and I guess my win rate's pretty average. But it's I'm a news trader mainly, so it either works or it doesn't. And you just try to curb the wins and losses as best you can, and obviously being up 365% on the year. That's literally almost 1% a day. I just realized that's actually really good. That's actually really good now that I think about it. Yeah. Anyways, just to show you that I'm not just some random guy that doesn't know how to trade. This is like trying to give you advice or anything. Speaking of which, none of this is financial advice. I am not a licensed financial advisor. Everything that I say in this video is basically just me rambling about my own ideas on what I think is happening. But I'm wrong all the time. I'm wrong a lot actually. So don't take anything I say um, for you know this is for sure going to happen because it sure as hell won't. Oh yeah, and I apologize if I cuss a lot in this video. I have a sailor's mouth, and there's not really much I can do about it at this point. It's just how it fucking is. And if you've been in the Discord at any point in the past year, you have definitely realized that by now. I also just realized that this has been up the whole time, so that's interesting. Anyways, yeah. So the penny market in general. Um, I told the people in Stockonomics this a couple months ago, but starting in like I don't know, starting in like September, end of September, beginning of October, we really didn't have a bunch of pennies left from what I would consider good. I use um, I use Finviz. Just not. I don't really care about the data. Like aside from market cap and country. Well, I'll use obviously the ticker, the sector, the industry, the country, and the market cap and the price. But like if you like deep dive into one of them, like I guess let's just choose one, STFS. You like deep dive into this, all this data right here. I really don't give a fuck about. To be honest with you, I don't give a shit about what any of this says. It's all fucking wrong. Most of it's fucking wrong, and I really fucking hate it when people go on Twitter and start quoting like the float and shit from this because it's just fucking wrong, dude. Um, don't even get me started on fucking this right here. This little one right here. Just don't even get me started on that because this is fucking wrong, dude. So don't even look at that shit. Anyways, about like the end of September, beginning of October, I was talking with Paul, um, Paul's portfolio. That's my boy right there. Uh, there wasn't really many pennies left. All the pennies that we had at that time. What I mean by that is they were all like, we had a good run from like the end of April all the way until the beginning of October of like just pennies in general. And at that point, there had been like 3 months of the same pennies down here at the bottom, and all the 20s and 30s like price range was all getting blown out, and they were all way overvalued. And I was like, dude, I was like, Paul, we need pennies to like cut in half or something because there's like no one was doing offerings, everyone was reverse splitting, but like people weren't really diluting, so it was like weird, and we were just sitting there stagnant with like the same pennies over and over and over. And I like to say that when the penny market's hot, that's when the market's hot, because if people are playing pennies all the time, they're definitely going to be playing news, like pennies without news. If they're playing pennies without news all the time, and pennies without news are like squeezing and shit midday, like they have been a little bit recently, then you know people are more risk on, I guess you could say. Um, for any of you that trade small caps, you will realize by this point that for the past, like the end of October until all the way until now, you will have realized that we've kind of been, it's been a little bit slower, I guess you could say, um, especially news wise, but again, pennies as well. But as of late, I guess you could say the past 2 weeks, a little bit, you started to see more like intraday action as opposed to just pre-market or just after hours. And that's like one of the really good signs. I guess a recent example, I think I posted on Twitter. Let me go look. I think I posted on Twitter, um, FMFC. Yeah, I posted this on Twitter, right? Obviously, it was after the move happened. I was talking to someone and I was like, FMFC is about to run in the next 2 weeks. This is on December 23rd. And so if you take a look at FMFC, I mean, there's nothing really special about it. It's just a penny with a low float. If you don't know what this is, it's dilution tracker. If you want to know like real floats and shit, you need to pay for dilution tracker. Anyways, this was one of the ones where I was like, yeah, it's gonna run in the next 2 weeks, more than likely, because it just bottomed, and it didn't have any news. It got 26 million volume. It didn't have any news, but it ran. So if we go back and look, let's just choose this one. We go back and look. When's the 23rd? Right here. I bought here at like 29.7 or some shit, right? And then the very next day, it just shoots up basically over 100%. I think I sold most in like the 55 area, so like right here. So that was a big winner for me. Um, and you might be thinking, well, how the fuck did you know that was going to happen? Well, pennies have been starting to run in this price range recently. So what I did was I went and looked to see which ones were bottomed in that price range with like a lower float. But the thing that really cued me into it, and this is why it pays to like know what you're doing and having experience reading filings. I told the Discord about this after it had happened because obviously I don't know when the fuck it's gonna. I don't know if it's actually gonna fucking do anything in the moment, right? Let me go back. When was the first day? June 25th is when they IPO'd. Fuck. There we go. So if you go to this prospectus supplement, right, from when they IPO'd, and then you go lockup. Why is it not here? I'm on the wrong filing. I'm on the wrong filing. What? Am I retarded? There we go. I was like, I know I'm not fucking retarded, dude. We have agreed with the underwriters, blah blah blah. This is what I wanted. All the directors, officers, and principal shareholders have agreed with the underwriters, subject to exemptions, not to sell, blah blah blah, for a period of 6 months from the date of this prospectus. So it went into effect on the 24th, right, of June, and it IPO'd on the 25th, right? Yeah, the 25th. So exactly 6 months. So this little run up right here, this little fucking Chinese run up, because I'm pretty sure this is a Chinese company or something. It says Cambodia, but it maybe it's not Chinese. Well, actually, this is all from 2013. Directors. Nice. It doesn't tell me any of their names. So not a board of directors. Ha. No, that's not them. Yep, here they are. Look at them. Duncan Mao. I'm not even going to try to pronounce these guys' names. They're either Chinese or something, right? Or some foreign. It's not Cambodia. Let's just be honest. It's not Cambodia. Anyways, so the Asian insiders had their lockup agreement expire 6 months from the date of the prospectus, which you're just going to assume is the IPO date, right? So boom, it IPOs. We're on a 6-month timer, right? 6 months from June 25th is December 25th, right? But wait, no, it went into effect on the 24th. All right, where's this at? It went into effect on the 24th. So this is 23rd, this is 24th. So 6 months from the 24th, when it went into effect, is the day that they can sell their shares, right? But what happens when you need to sell shares? You need volume. So I just sat my ass here. I had already bought some at 29.7. Just cancel all that. I already bought some at 29.7, and I was just waiting for loading. You know, this is not a lot of volume, but it was just starting to like slowly go up. And so I took some more, and then all of a sudden, boom, 21,000, 55,000, 66,000, 60,000. Then boom, 3 million, boom. And I'm just selling all up here. And that was like an 80% win or something for me, very easily. And if you didn't know anything about the lockup, you would have been like, okay, this is just some random thing someone's pumping. But I knew to be in this because the lockup was expiring. And if they have shares they need to sell, either they're not going to just tank the stock, usually. Like, they're not just going to, like, if they have 2 million shares to sell, usually they're not going to just sell it straight down the bid. They're going to, like, pay someone to pump some volume in to get them up high so they can just dump into the volume at the highest price possible because they've been holding this whole time. So, like, they don't want to sell it for cheap, right? But, yeah, anyways, I was just on the lookout for those types of tickers, and it's kind of like why I'm making this video here, because I do think there's a lot of insane setups that are just like waiting to be ran, that all it takes is a little eyes on it. PCLA is another one that I was in really early. This was on the 22nd when I said this. PCLA going to 25 minimum within a week. That was at 8 p.m. As you can see, this is a screenshot from my phone. It closed at 13 cent on PCLA, and if you go back to PCLA, this is the day it closed at 13 cent or something. It was this day right here, the 22nd, right? And then the very next day, someone just starts hitting it in pre-market. And then it goes from 13 to fucking 48. And you're like, wow, why did this move? Because I'm pretty sure there was no news. Oops. There was no news. Yeah, no news. But it got a fucking 800 million volume day. So you're like, wow, what the fuck? And, you know, it looks like it's still going to go a little bit more. Who knows? Maybe they fucking run this even higher. But you're probably sitting there thinking, well, how the hell did you know to get in? Well, first off, you look at the history of the chart, it had never been this low. Second, it's an 18 mil float with a low overhead supply, low offering ability, and there's really no dilution. They don't really have anything, and they've never really diluted. If we're being honest, ever since their IPO, they IPO'd and then they did one little offering with Dominari, and that was this one right here. And who knows if they've done the whole offering? There's no way to tell because it just hasn't been updated in the filings. But basically, the reason I liked it, we were at almost 10 cent with that 18 mil float, down from 30, right? So we're at this point we're at 13 cent, right? But it had been basing in the 30s for the whole month of November, trading light as fuck volume, 90k, 100k, 100k, 40k, 90k, and bear in mind this is at 30 cent. So 100k volume at 30 cent, that's like only 30 grand, right? So you're trading like 30 grand volume daily, and no one's killing the stock. There's no dilution. But then all of a sudden, it starts to dip on similarly low volume. And it even creates this little gap right here. from like 24 to 25. And so when you have situations like this where you've based for a while on low volume and then the stock dips even further, I mean, 30 to 13 is a big drop on low volume, right? The people selling down here, because it's not dilution. It's not dilution because you could literally just, I could literally just zoom out. Oh, well, I would have to. I would have to. I would have to change my settings on this. I mean, look at this. It wasn't really dilution. It was capitulation is what I would call it. People that were holding up here, someone started to sell off. They're like, "Fuck it, I'm getting out of this position." Right? Someone started to sell it off, and then all of a sudden it gaps down overnight, and people just start panicking. They're like, "Oh fuck," because you see 100K, 200K, 300K, 1 million. Bear in mind, this is a 19 mil float. So, like, this is no shares at all. It's down on no shares at all. From 30 cent to 12, 13 cents. So, in my head, I'm telling Paul, I'm like, dude, this is like the easiest setup ever. And I could tell from the way it was trading when I would slap a little intraday, I could tell how thin it was. And so that's why I just started loading it. I started loading it on the 19th, that Friday, I believe. And then on the 22nd, it was starting to go down even more, and I just started scaling in more. And then the next day is when someone starts randomly hitting it pre-market, and then it just explodes. My main goal was the 25-cent gap fill. And pre-market, when it was moving, I told the Discord, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're gonna fill this gap. And they did that like right towards open. I'm mainly a news trader, but I do love my pennies. I make a lot of money off pennies. So, and I like the bottom setups. I like to be in before anyone else. I don't. You're in the Discord and you listen to me live trade, and I talk about all the stuff. You know at this point that I don't like. I usually don't like jumping into stuff that has no catalyst, so like no news or no filing, unless I know it's a sympathy from like a main theme. So like space theme was something we had recently, and you could play tickers off just space theme. So it's like, even though it's not a real like defined catalyst specifically for that ticker, I know that it's a theme overall, and so that's why I would be comfortable with that. But like this random shit that's running, it's like it can dump on you at any time. Not to say that news won't dump on you anytime, because it does, but trading is a game of odds basically. So the highest probability setups are the best, obviously. So I tend to stray away from the ones that aren't high probability. I've probably been rambling for a while at this point, but basically I just wanted to show some setups that I thought were good before this week starts. HCWC is one that I really think is good. It's a similar setup to PCLA, right? So it was basing in the 50s on low volume for the whole month of November. Then you get one big sell candle. That was not off a filing or any dilution filing, by the way. Like no offering, no filing, just randomly. 4 million volume day. Someone dumped. People started capitulating. Shorts got on it. It was down more than like 10% a day. Blah blah blah. Shorts just fed on it all day. It bases out, right? I start adding somewhere in here, in this area. I've been holding on to it for a little bit. It's now went from 27s up to 33s, and I expect it to keep going higher. Why do I think it'll go higher? When you have these like big volume drops, and if I'm not mistaken, yeah. So again, low overhead supply, which is like low dilution possibilities. They don't need cash. it's a 16 mil float, 5 mil market cap on a 30-cent ticker, right? The theme has been this price of ticker, and um, if you look, this is it's just a good setup, right? You know, it drops on low volume because look, 17 mil float, but it drops on 3 mil volume from 55 to 27. That's like 100% upside on tiny as fuck shares. So what does that do? That creates a volume gap in the volume profile. Volume profile is just like the amount of shares traded in certain areas on a chart. And I just know that if this starts to go higher, this little area right here from 35 all the way up to 52, it's going to the price will move fairly easily because there's not a lot of bag holders here. Like this didn't create bag holders. Everyone with their supply sold here. Everyone that was holding from up here, holding out for hope, when this started to sell off and it made this big dip on low volume, they all just started dumping into the bid. So that all of them are out. All these people up here are out. There's new people that are in down here, people like me. We're looking for that move from like here to here. Now that's 104% move. You're probably not going to get 100% out of it. You would have to get dead bottom, but upside from here, at least 50. I could see 60% from here is very easily doable, especially if they put out news. You know, FMFC didn't have news, and it did this. It doesn't need news to do anything, but it's just a good setup. Similarly, I think the same thing with ADVB. I have a bunch of levels on this because I've traded it a bunch of times, but as you can see, this thing likes to pop a lot when it dips. This thing's always traded a little bit weird, but you can see all the big volume days where it pops from like 40 to 60, 40 to 60, 37 to 50. And you know, this is at all-time lows basically. So who's to say it's not going to go straight back to 45 or 50 again? So it's like I'm getting in before all the crazy shit happens because it's not down on dilution. It's just down on the overall market being down and it not having news rarely. I mean, this thing's had 3 news releases since it IPO'd. Ooh, I really need to look and see. I'll do that later. I wonder if this has a... I wonder when this lockup expires. Where's the effect? $180 days. So the lockup on this has been expired. So either they've dumped or they're waiting for something to dump. My guess, they've dumped already. But that just makes it even more intriguing because that means it'll move up without much restraint. And this thing trades pretty easily. 3.8 million float. 17% short. I mean, come on, dude. At lows, it's just a prime candidate with the squeezes we've been seeing recently. FTEL, I alerted, or I put in the Discord on Friday. I think Trippy bought it too. It was a repeat news about its dividend, but you know, people in small caps have a very short attention span, I guess you could say, and they forget very easily. Because look, they did this on the 1st and the 2nd. They announced this, It goes from like 70 to $2, and then they just put out the exact same PR at 70 cent again. But the catalyst is Tuesday this week. Like that's the cutoff date. So I knew that this would, like, people would hit it, right. People ran with it after hours on Friday, but we were buying it like 68, 69 down here. I think I put it in the Discord on like this candle. So if you're still holding that, right now it's at $1.12 in after hours, or in Sunday 24-hour session, whatever you want to call it. I think IBKR and some other foreign brokers allow you to trade it. But like Webull, I use Webull and you can't trade it, obviously. Yeah, so that one's probably going to run tomorrow. Another one that I've been harping on Twitter is AZTR. They're supposed to be getting some type of funding. They keep mentioning in their like compliance PRs. And this ticker has a history of. So first of all, it's a low float. It's 10 million for a penny. It's low float. It's 10 million on a 4 mil market cap, right? And as you can see, there's a common theme with what I like to play: the stuff that's bottomed out, that hasn't moved in a bit and like in a minute. But you see, all obviously they sell it off every time. But if you're in before the move, it doesn't matter if they sell it off every time, because you can just sell into the volume. So like big volume day, big volume day, big volume day. They like the PR a lot too. So who's to say that they won't, PR some type of data and then it goes back to $1 again and I'm in at 30, right? Who's to say that this right here won't be PR'd and it's like the main runner of the day or something? So this is just like the type of stuff that I like to get in. And I get a lot of my ideas from Paul. We bounce off stuff a lot from each other. I mean, I talk to the dude every day. He's a great penny trader. He has good eyes. He reads filings. Follow him if you don't follow him. He's really good at it. But yeah, what the fuck, John Gruden? That is a very disturbing picture. Anyways, yeah. So, um, the only problem with this week is that if you're a full-time trader like me and you've elected mark to market, you have to sell everything by the end of the day Wednesday. So I'm gonna have to sell everything by Wednesday. So I'm hoping at least some of these run before Wednesday. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to sell and then wait until the very next day and buy back everything on dips. Because with mark to market election, you can't hold a position into the new year. You have to be a clean slate. And if you're a full time trader and you don't know what mark to market election is, I would highly recommend looking into that because you avoid wash sales. And you can trade the same ticker over and over and over and over and over again, even if you lose and it doesn't count against your tax liability. So obviously that's a very good thing. But yeah, I'll have more of a format for like doing these in the future. But I just wanted to kind of put something out because I was bored. I don't even know if I'm going to continue doing these, but I was just bored and I thought I would give some people some ideas. I'd like to think that I know what I'm doing, considering my port's up 365% on the year. Because I know people come on Twitter all the time and act like they know what they're doing, but they actually don't. Um, if you guys have questions that you want me to answer, you can just at me on Twitter or whatever. But you know, a lot of the time I'm in and out of stuff, and I just don't say anything. because I don't really feel the need to. Um, if you join the Discord and you listen to me live trade, I mostly live trade news in the morning, and I mainly only play small caps. Actually, it's like 99% small caps. I'd like to think that I am pretty good at trading the news. You can ask people in the Discord for their opinion on that. Um, for the ones that have been here for the better part of the year. When it's slower, I tend to take way less trades. I'm more of a let's take the high probability trade as opposed to let's gamble, because I really despise when people go on Twitter and just call out every ticker that's moving and act like they've been trading every one of those tickers all day and that they called it and blah blah blah. Like it just like anyone with any sense of like reality as a trader understands that you're not in all these tickers, you're not nailing all these trades. Like you wouldn't be posting on Twitter if that was the case. You would just you'd be making a shit ton of money and you wouldn't have a need to post it, right? That's not to say that you're not in some of them, but when people go like, oh yeah man, I nailed all 20 of these top to bottom, it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, just stop fucking capping. Anyone with a brain can understand that that is not what's happening. Sorry, that's just like a pet peeve of mine. Um, but yeah, yeah. So join the Discord if you want to hear me talk about stuff more. Let's see what we do. We got Nuntio, we got unusual whales, we got options people, we got everything you need basically. And I'll be there every morning, and I'll be there every after hours because that's when I mainly trade. I don't sit here all day. There are a lot of people that like to sit at their computer all day and trade literally all day. Bro, I'll take like one or two trades, get my daily goal, and I'm dipping the fuck out. Doesn't mean I won't. I always come back for after hours, 4 p.m. for the 4 p.m. session till about 5:30 usually. But you can miss me with that sitting here all day shit. Um, I love trading, but the one thing I like about it is that I don't have to sit here all day. It's not a 9 to 5. It's a 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And sometimes I don't even need the 4 to 5 p.m. But I'm going to sit here because it's the best opportunity to trade when that happens, or in that time slot usually. Speaking of which, after hours hasn't been that great recently, or for the past few months. But that I feel like that also coincides with news being slow for the past few months. I feel like for small caps, April to October was pretty much like automatic, like autopilot for me. Like I would just wake up every morning, we would go on live. I'd get my one trade, my two trades of the day in the morning, and then I would met my daily goal, and then I get the after hours, and anything else is like icing on the cake, on top of like any pennies that I add that I think are at bottom, and then they go up 20% off nothing, and I just take the profit over and over and over again. So, but yeah, at this point I'm rambling, so I'm gonna cut it here. But yeah, join the Discord, Stockonomics, discord.gg/Stockonomics. We got a lot of great people in there, and everyone's willing to help everyone. And we got all the tools you need, so give it a try. But yeah, peace.